start the rest of my daily routine. I did a run earlier. I just did 30 minutes of private secret training that I don't share with other people. And now I'm going to demonstrate and practice my rest of my routine. Martial arts, bodyweight exercises, calisthenics, yoga, and then some reading and meditation.
Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. The water can flow, or it can crash. The water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend. 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 So again, okay? Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. The water can flow, or it can crash. The water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend. 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 Like water. Like water. Like water. Like water. Like water.
Right.
Who's gonna carry the boat? Who's gonna carry the boat? So do you know why I demand that? Not for me. The reason why I demand that is because I know what darkness looks like. I know what darkness looks like. I know what it feels like to be alone with no motivation, no drive, no passion. And what has to come out of your fucking soul in the darkest of times is what you just did right there. So that's what I do. For the first 20-some years of my life, it was just darkness. But if you were able to get up every morning, have no passion, no drive, no motivation, no shit, and still get up with that kind of fire, you will be successful in life. I guarantee you that. I know what darkness looks like. I know what it feels like to be alone with no motivation, no drive, no passion. I know what darkness looks like. So that's what I do. I get up every morning with that kind of fire. You want to be that one motherfucker that every day, whether it's raining, snowing, sleeting, you lost every dime, your mom died, your dad died. You come and you bring the energy that it takes at the highest fucking level every day. That's the person you want to be every day of your life. I know what darkness looks like. I know what it feels like to be alone with no motivation, no drive, no passion. I know what darkness looks like. So that's what I do. I get up every morning with that kind of fire, 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 that kind of fire. For some reason, God put me in almost every fucked up situation on the planet. So when I talk to people, it's not sugarcoated. I'm not saying it from I was 175 pounds my whole life. I don't say much to those people. Maybe you're a piece of shit. Maybe you want to be nobody. Maybe you're happy exactly where you are in life, because obviously you are. Maybe you don't have the determination to be somebody better than who you are. And if you want to live with that, I'll support you in that. If you're good with being who you are, and every day you wake up, and every day you smell like shit because you can't wash your body well, and your skin's messed up because your health's so bad, and you can't put your clothes on right, you need help with that. You need help. And out there, I need help wiping my ass. That makes you feel good? Nothing I can say to you. See, people are haunted, but they obviously like horror films because they keep watching the same fucking movie. I don't like horror films. A lot of people like horror films, so I don't say much to them. I say exactly what I said to you, right there, because I was once you. I didn't like horror films, so I changed it. It gets real small when you're lazy and you're fat. Your will is so small that they don't have any, and you can't give it to them because this isn't a hack. This has to be in you. Something in you has to wake up. This isn't a hack. This has to be in you. And usually the only person that can wake it up is you. Sometimes you can read David Goggins' book because I was all this shit and then a lot more of fucked up. But if you don't have a little flame, just barely, you're done. I can't light it for you. You have to explore, examine the insides of yourself. And what do you really want out of life? You have to explore, examine the insides of yourself. And what do you really want out of life? This isn't a hack. This has to be in you. Something in you has to wake up. This isn't a hack. This has to be in you. And usually the only person that can wake it up is you. It's so easy to get lost in the fog of life. Tragedy hunts us all, and any event that causes suffering will linger longer than it should if you let it. Because our sad stories enable us to grade ourselves on a forgiving curve. They give us latitude and justification to stay lazy, weak-minded motherfuckers. And the longer it takes for us to process that pain, the harder it is to reclaim our lives. Sometimes weakness and laziness are rooted in hate and anger, and until we receive a confession, apology, or compensation we believe we are owed, we We stay stuck in our shit as a form of self-righteous rebellion against our tormentors, or even against life itself. Against life itself. I don't want to be friends with everybody. And I'll drop. So if you believe in something, you stand up for it. You're gonna have enemies. I'm not gonna be friends with everybody. I'll focus on a few, not the many. You destroy them physically, mentally, spiritually. That's their life source, baby. Put a hand on the collar. Put a hand on the neck, on the hip. You gotta pin the bone of the hip down, right? And I go knee in the belly. And I wear him out knee in the sternum. Knee in the belly, start in the belly and it goes to the sternum. Okay? And now he pushes the knee out of the belly. And I transfer over to the knee up to the neck. I'm just wearing him out. I'm just playing with the food now. I'm working him. I'm beating him up real bad. Just without punches and kicks. He pushed the knee out of here. Boom! And I hit him back in the sternum. And now usually their arms will spread. And I'll drop. Boom! Crack him in the heart. And I'll drop. Boom! Crack him in the heart. And I'll drop. Boom! Crack him in the heart. Right to the life source. Chop certified style coming at you. Conventional wisdom.
I used to train with this guy that's ranting right now. In the previous video, he's beating somebody up in training. And he's like this in real life. He's crazy.
Almost always fucking wrong. Conventional wisdom will tell you start with why. Know why you're doing what you're doing. What's the purpose? Wrong. Surround yourself with champions. Get the right people on a bus and the wrong ones off. Number 1, gold counts. Chop certified, baby. Jiu-jitsu chop coming at you. Sacrifice style. Here it's 6:45. Sun's rising. Get ready to get after it. Rise above. Rise with the sunrise. Train hard to crush people. To bring it. Bring the pain. Get after gold. Why? Because gold counts. Everything else is not a champion. Everything else falls short. And the majority of the population, they don't want it. They don't want it like I want it. They don't want it like champions want it. They don't want it like the future champions want it. So we want it more than anything on this planet. That's how it's got to be. You got to be prepared to make sacrifice. I can't emphasize enough. Champions do what others don't want to do. Champions don't complain. So for all y'all pussies watching this, talking about this hurts, that hurts, crying, whining, don't complain. No one's gonna listen. You're a victim of pussification. That's your chapter, not mine. So for those who want to become champions, you gotta get tough. You gotta get mean. You ain't got no time to be hurt. You got time to get after it and work hard. Success through hard work. Getting after gold. You're gonna have to put in that hard work, put in overtime, put in more overtime, train more, keep getting after it, doing what others don't want to do. Others don't want to get up early and train hard. Others don't want to get up in the middle of the night and train hard. Others don't want to make sacrifice. Others don't want to do what people call crazy. Yeah, they be calling it crazy till you get gold around your neck. And then it's wow, 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 all praise, all good. How'd you do that? But prior to that, you were crazy. Yeah, you're gonna have to be crazy. You wanna be a champion? Gotta make sacrifice. Gotta be willing to pay the price. Pay the price that others don't wanna pay. Because gold counts. Chop of the morning to you. Jiu-jitsu chop. Kill them all. Jiu-jitsu chop. Happy New Year to everybody. It's 2013. Break your opponents in 2013 pieces. All right, you gotta train hard, crush the competition. Guys, all the guys training jiu-jitsu, all the girls training jiu-jitsu, everybody who loves jiu-jitsu, help the white belts, okay? You blue belts, you purple belts, you brown belts, you black belts, you guys who are black belts 10, 15 years, gotta help the white belts. Gotta help them more, all right? Your blue, your purple, every color. It's just a color. In my heart, you know, I black belt 12 years. When you're talking about numbers, but in the real world, I'm still a white belt. Everybody's a white belt at heart. You got to keep learning. You're always learning. Okay, I have a lot to learn. I can learn from anybody. So everybody, you need to make an effort to help the white belts. The ones with the color, go out of your way and help the white belts. All right? Don't let them work together. White belts shouldn't be working together. They should always be working with somebody. Blue, purple, brown, black belts. Get it better, guys. It's our job as a colored belt to look out for the white belts. So if you love jiu-jitsu, look out for the white belts. One more thing. I think it's very important for the sport, whether it's for sport or MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in general. Guys, anybody and everybody that you know that does not train Jiu-Jitsu, you need to emphasize, show them the way. Jiu-Jitsu life is a very, very beautiful, very healthy lifestyle. And it's good energy, you know? It's like my boy and Josh. My boy Josh in NYC always say, PMA all day. Positive mental attitude. That's the way, guys. You gotta show them. We need to grow. Our sport is growing, it's getting stronger. But if everybody goes out of their way and tell people stay on their case, you know? And don't let them say, oh, it's too expensive. Any great academy is going to give them 30 or 60 days free to prove that it's the real deal, is a life changer, is the way. All right? So, guys, Happy New Year. All the best. Jiu-Jitsu chop. South Florida right now. Rio de Janeiro tomorrow. All around the world. International. Jiu-Jitsu chop.
I used to train with that guy.
For all y'all who don't know who I am,
He's crazy.
I'm going to let you know real quick, and then you're going to have to look me up.
Teach you, buddy. If he's still alive, I trained with him years ago. Real badass motherfucker.
My base, my backbone, it's all wrestling. Comes from wrestling, doing hard time. That's where I got this mentality. You know, it's all about hard work there. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear all that pansy bullshit that a majority of the world's coming with. That a majority of the world who aren't champions is coming with. That's why they're not champions. Because they're coming with that pansy bullshit. Oh, my finger hurts. this hurts, that hurts. You know, their pussy hurts. That's what it is. That's their problem. Shut up. Don't complain. No one's going to listen. Deal with it. Everybody's hurt. Everybody's got issues. Everybody's got problems. Champions are going to suck it up and deal with it. Find a way to make it work. Not coming with that pussy shit. Looking to go hard. Looking to go hard, bring it, get after that gold in everything they do in life. Making sacrifice. Doing things to get ahead.
This week on London Rio, we have MMA fighter and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Dustin.
Jiu-Jitsu chop. Talking about the famous double pump. I'm real famous for that. A lot of people know what I'm talking about. People who know me, people who know my fights. If you don't know me, you don't know my fights, you gotta check them out. This double pump is serious. We're talking about holding on to somebody's arm, someone's neck till the ref jumps in. So what do we call double pump? Because I'm hanging on longer. You know, maybe the person tapped, maybe the person screamed. Well, if the ref didn't break it up, I'm not letting go. Why? I've seen too many times in the beginning of my jiu-jitsu career. I saw a lot, you know, people in tournaments, one guy make the other guy tap, and the guy who applied the submission lets go. The referee never stopped the match, and the other guy say he never tapped. That's bullshit. You know, I've seen in UFC fights. Look, Matt Lindland, Marila Bustamante, when they fought. You know, Marila got the guy 2 times. He got him once, and there was controversy, so he got him again. Marila Bustamante, great champion, great UFC champion. So, you know, I see things like that. I see stuff in the tournaments. I don't want it to come to a close call like that. I want to make sure, you know, I put that formula together from the beginning. You know, when I started seeing this happening, that mixed martial arts examples is a great example for you guys. You know, that's a UFC title fight where it's happening. So the referee is there for what reason? He's there for points, maybe jiu-jitsu competition. He's there for points. He's there to enforce the rules of jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts. They're there to break the fighters when they need to break the fighters, to start the fight. You know, they're there for many things. Well, one thing they're there to do is to break the action when there's submission. When somebody's knocked out or somebody's being submitted, it's their job, it's a major job to step in and stop the fight. So, that's justification right there for my double pump. You know, I'm going in there looking to win. Winning's my number one. That's my priority. And I'm going to make sure that at my moment of truth, my moment of submission, that fight belongs to me. Because that's the beauty of submission. It just takes one moment. It's not a accumulation of punches. Just one shot, one moment. All happens in there. You don't want to let go too early. Ref doesn't stop it. There's controversy. Yeah, the fight starts over. And this guy, your opponent's going to be looking out for your best interest? Yeah, right. If it's jiu-jitsu, they get your arm, they're going to rip your arm off your body. They get your neck, they're going to put you to sleep. Mixed martial arts, same thing with submission. They knock you out. They're going to try to knock you dead, playing with lethal techniques. People talking about gentle this, gentle that. You know, the art is beautiful, but the reality is, if you hesitate and they have your arm locked in, they're going to rip your arm off your body. So wake up, smell the reality. Jiu-jitsu fight, mixed martial arts fight. It's not a game. Got to get after it. Got to train hard. Make sure it's not you on the bad end of that. Want to be dishing it out. Dishing out that punishment. Bringing that pain. You guys hear me saying it all the time. Break them all down and bring the pain. It's better them than you. So get after that gold. Represent, represent. Put that double pump in effect. That double pump, that's the enforcer. That's the law. Put it in full effect. Don't have to worry about anybody knocking on your door the next day. Why? Because the waiver is in effect via Jiu-Jitsu chop.
I used to train with that guy. He's crazy. He'll make you a champion if he's still alive. Old school. He's an asshole. He's gonna beat you up. That's what it takes to become a champion. Get gold medals. Let somebody know.
Jiu-Jitsu chop. It's 5 in the morning. Going to work. Going to get ahead. Getting ahead of the competition. Ahead of the enemies. Working. Making sacrifice. All over the world. People training now. Competition. Guys who want to be champions are getting after it. Been getting up early for a long time, doing things different. I owe a big part of my success to doing things different. Success through hard work, always hard work, always doing something different to outwork my opponents, to outwork my competition. So we get up 4 or 5 in the morning. Today is 5. En route to the gym. Got to meet up with my boys, the young chop masters, the ones en route to becoming great champions, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, mixed martial arts. They're learning firsthand about discipline, sacrifice. I'm all about practice what you preach, so I'm right there by their side. I've been doing this for many years, for decades. This is nothing new to me. Always doing something different. Always. Always reaching beyond the limits, and then some. That's what you got to do. You want to be a champion. You got to do different things to outwork everybody. So we're en route. Get ready to throw down, wake our body up. This is our cup of coffee. Gonna get in there, get after it, get it. Hit it hard. Hit it hard. Hit it with no mercy. Hit it like there's no tomorrow. Hit it so we're prepared to bring the pain. Bringing the pain. We're doing things like this. We're doing it for a reason, to get ahead. And when we get ahead, somebody's got to pay for this. Somebody's got to pay for us waking up at 5 a.m. Somebody's got to pay for us doing things different. That's going to be the competition, our enemies, bringing the pain on those guys, showing no mercy, getting after it, going for the gold. That's how we do Jiu-Jitsu chop. Champion mindset is like a ghost. You only believe in it if you see it yourself. So we come out now, 5 a.m. It's dark, stars are out. It's a good time for the ghosts to run wild. Jiu-jitsu chop. October 22nd, year 2000. I won the Brazilian Championship in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. In the finals, submission victory over Marcelo Garcia. Completed a trifecta for my friends and brothers, Rodrigo Minotauro and Rogério Nogueira. Rodrigo won the Brasileiro in 98, Rogério won the Brasileiro in 99, and the year 2000 was mine. Victory pick with Rodrigo Minotauro and Zé Mario Sperry. Dustin Clean Dennis, day in my life when I was living in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, 99 through 2001. I made the ultimate sacrifice. Rogério, Minotauro's brother, told me one day when I got to Brazil, he said, Clean, you just keep working hard at it. Keep gunning. Keep gunning. You're going to get these guys. Your day is going to come where you're going to get those gold medals. They're going to be showing up to the tournament. They're going to say, the gringo's here. So that's how it unfolded. You know, I caught that curve, that tough curve, fought through it, started getting those fruits like you guys starting to get those gold medals. Started getting gold medals, gold medals, gold medals, gold medals. Gold, gold, gold. Gold counts. And then, before I know it, I'm showing up to tournaments. I see them guys trembling, you know? Guys were trembling, for real. I had that confidence. There's no doubt in my mind I was going to win. Like I know on Monday from a Tuesday. I knew I was getting that gold. No one was going to take it from me. Showing up, seeing them guys, they're seeing them. You can see that tremble from like a mile away. Get to the tournament, they looking like, oh no, the gringo showed up. That's right, the gringo showed up. And the gringo gonna skin everybody alive. Everybody gonna pay for my hard work. What goes around comes around.
Okay, Dustin.
Me and my focus, I was always, it come from the heart. Be inspired. Get on a mat and fucking drill. Get in there and work. Whatever it is in life, you want to be better at, work at it. It sure enough always follows the hard work as a result. Make your sacrifice. And remember, it's not what you're doing when the world is watching. It's what you're doing when nobody's watching. That's going to make a difference. Make your sacrifice. Kick ass, take no prisoners, crush the enemies. Jiu-Jitsu chop certified. It's not about the vandal versus the architect. If it was, I'd be the vandal. Chop certified style. Vandal kimonos. Get after it. Sacrifice. If you're not getting ahead, you're falling behind. Ciao, baby. Chase your efforts. Make it happen. Take action. And you can start by attacking your toughest task first. Whatever it is, in your day, in your hours, in your training, in your opponent, your toughest opponent, attack him first. Attack it first. Attack your toughest task first. I hate doing fucking wind sprints. I do it first. And I do it till it hurts. I start counting when my body stops working. Chop certified style. Get after it. Take no prisoner. Seek and destroy. Vandal, baby. Chase your efforts. Get up, stand up.
We become what we think about. We become what we think about. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about. Throughout all history, the great wise men and teachers, philosophers and prophets have disagreed with one another on many different things. It is only on this one point that they are in complete and unanimous agreement. Listen to what Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor, said. He said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." Disraeli said this, "Everything comes if a man will only wait. I have brought myself by long meditation to the conviction that a human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it, and that nothing can resist a will that will stake even existence for its fulfillment." We become what we think about. We become what we think about. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." William James said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind." And he also said, "We need only in cold blood act as if the thing in question were real, and it will become infallibly real by growing into such a connection with our life that it will become real. It will become so knit with habit and emotion that our interest in it will be those which characterize belief." He also said this, "If you only care enough for a result, you will almost certainly attain it. If you wish to be rich, you will be rich. If you wish to be learned, you will be learned. If you wish to be good, you will be good. Only you must then really wish these things, and wish them exclusively, and not wish at the same time 100 other incompatible things just as strongly." We become what we think about. We become what we think about. We become what we think about. Now let me say that again. We become what we think about. In the Bible you read in Mark 9:23, "If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth." Dr. Norman Vincent Peale said this, "This is one of the greatest laws in the universe. Fervently do I wish I had discovered it as a very young man. It dawned upon me much later in life, and I found it to be one of the greatest, if not my greatest discovery outside of my relationship to God. And the great law, briefly and simply stated, is that if you think in negative terms, you will get negative results. If you think in positive terms, you will achieve positive results. That is the simple fact, which is at the basis of an astonishing law of prosperity and success. In 3 words, believe and succeed. 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 Believe and succeed.
I write when I can't sleep. The pace of repression outstrips our ability to understand it. So much going wrong, so much to say, and all of it happening so quickly.
There is more than one sort of prison. I sense that you carry yours wherever you go.
Your world is inescapably linked to the Empire. You never think about escaping?
I'm one with the Force,
Just praying for the door talk. You want out of here alive, turn that part of your mind off.
It bothers him because he knows it's possible.
It's not that I like the Empire, I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now.
It's better to eat, sleep, do what you want.
You can stand to see the Imperial flag reign across the galaxy.
It's not a problem if you don't look up.
These days will end. The way they laugh, the way they push through a crowd, the sound of that voice telling you to stop, to go, to move, to die. Rings in the air, doesn't it? We are nothing to them. All you know now is how much you hate. Keep it alive until you know what to do with it.
Apparently the only thing keeping us from liberty is a few more ideas.
A few more ideas.
We've been sleeping. I've been sleeping.
I believe we are in crisis.
I've been turning away from the truth I wanted not to face.
No one's getting out. Not now. It's going on everywhere.
When truth leaves us, when we let it slip away, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. Imperial ships are already landing.
Nobody's listening.
Is there no one who can help us?
Nobody's listening.
No one outside here knows what's happening.
And the monster screaming the loudest, the monster we've helped create,
Is a disease that thrives in darkness.
You're wasting daylight.
It is never more alive than when we sleep.
We need to speak out. We need to stand up.
Tell them what to do.
And speak the truth.
You see someone who's confused, keep them moving until we put this behind us.
If I could do it again, I would wake up early and be fighting these bastards from the start.
Down.
The monster who will come for us all soon enough. Is Emperor Palpatine. If we do not stand together, we will be crushed.
There is one way out.
Fight the Empire!
Welcome to the rebellion. I need all the heroes I can get.
The rebellion.
And what do you sacrifice? We've all done terrible things on behalf of the rebellion.
Calm,
One path, one choice. We win or everyone dies.
kindness, kinship,
I've never loved anything the way I love you.
love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless place.
We'll all be dead before the Republic is back.
The ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude.
And yet, here we are. Revolution is not for the saying.
We are not ready for open war.
Yavin isn't ready.
We're building a real army.
There's no chance any of us can make it real on our own. We need the Empire to help. Oppression breeds rebellion.
People will suffer.
That's the plan. I'm damned for what I do. I share my dreams with ghosts.
Remember this moment.
My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield.
That itch, that burn.
To set me on a path from which there's no escape.
You feel how badly she wants to explode?
This is what revolution looks like.
If it goes up in flames, it will burn very brightly.
Let it in, boy. That's freedom calling. Let it run wild.
That's what a reckoning sounds like.
You give way to an enemy this evil with this much power, and you condemn the galaxy to an eternity of submission. The time to fight is now.
I'd rather die trying to take them down, scorching up, than die giving them what they want. Standing by. I burn my decency for someone else's future.
For the fuel.
I burn my life to make the sunrise that I know I'll never see.
For the thing that explodes when there's too much friction in the air.
Light it up.
We'll take the next chance.
We want to have a better chance.
And the next. On and on until we win, and the chances are spent.
I couldn't face myself if I give up now.
Climb! 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 Keep going! Keep going! Save the rebellion! Save the dream!
What do I sacrifice?
Everything!
Without dismay, you are smitten. You think there's no chance for you, son. Why the best books have not yet been written? The best race it hasn't been run. The best score it hasn't been made yet. The best song it hasn't been sung. The best tune it hasn't been played yet. Cheer up, for the world is young. No chance when the world is just eager for things that you want to create. Its store of true love is still meager. Its needs are incessant and great. It yearns for more power and beauty, more laughter, more love, more romance, more loyalty, labor and duty. No chance when it's nothing but chance. For the best verse it hasn't been ranked yet. The best house it hasn't been ranked. The highest peak hasn't been climbed yet. The mightiest rivers unspanned. Don't worry and fret, faint-hearted. The chances they have just begun. For the best jokes they haven't been started. And the best work it hasn't been done. Without dismay, you are smitten. You think there's no chance for you, son. Why the best books have not yet been written. The best race it hasn't been run. The best score it hasn't been made yet. The best song it hasn't been sung. The best tune it hasn't been played yet. Cheer up, for the world is young. For the best verse it hasn't been ranked yet. The best house it hasn't been ranked. The highest peak hasn't been climbed yet. The mightiest rivers unspanned. Don't worry and fret, faint-hearted. The chances they have just begun. For the best jokes they haven't been started. And the best work it hasn't been done. Akira. The song. He's got close. My grandfather Virus, character and self-control. My father, integrity and manliness. My mother, her reverence for the divine, her generosity, her inability not only to do wrong, but even to consider succeed in doing it. My great-grandfather, to avoid the public school, hire good private teachers and accept the resulting costs as money well spent. My first teacher, not to support this side or that in chariot racing, this fighter or that in the games, to put up with discomfort and not make demands, do my own work, mind my own business and have no time for slanderers, do my own work, mind my own business and have no time for slanderers. Diagnosis, not to waste time on nonsense, not taken in by conjurers, not obsessed with quail fighting or other crazes like that, to hear unwelcome truths, to practice philosophy study, to write dialogues as a student, and to choose the Greek lifestyle. Camp bed at the club. Debts and lessons, 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 debts and lessons. Rusticus, the recognition I needed to train and discipline my character, not to be sidetracked by interest in rhetoric, not to write treatises on abstract questions, or deliver moralizing little sermons, or compose imaginary descriptions of the simple life for the man who lives only for others. Steer clear of oratory, poetry, and bows lashes, not to dress up, just to stroll around the house, write straightforward letters, to behave in a consideratory way when people who have angered us want to make up, read attentively, not to be satisfied with just getting the gist of it, and not to fall for each smooth talker. Apollonius, independence and unvarying reliability, to pay attention to nothing, no matter how fleetingly, except the logos. The same in all circumstances. Loss of a child, chronic illness, clearly, that a man can show both strength and flexibility, his patience and teaching, to have seen someone who clearly viewed his expertise and ability as a teacher as the humblest of virtues, and to have learned how to accept favors from friends without losing your self-respect or appearing ungrateful. Debts and lessons, 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 debts and lessons. Justice, kindness, an example of fatherly authority in the home. What it means to live as nature requires. Gravity without airs. To show intuitive sympathy for friends, tolerance to amateurs and sloppy thinkers. His ability to get along with everyone, to investigate and analyze with understanding and logic the principles we ought to live by, not to display anger or other emotions, to be free of passion and yet full of love, to praise without bombast, to display expertise without pretension. Literary critic Alexander, not to be constantly correcting people, not to jump on them when they make an error, but just answer their question or add another example, or debate the issue itself, not their phrasing, or make some other contributions to discussion. Pronto, to recognize the malice, cunning, and hypocrisy the power produces, and the peculiar ruthlessness often shown by people from good families. Alexander the Platonist, not be constantly telling people, I'm too busy, not be always ducking my responsibilities, cause I'm pressing business, catulous, not to shrug off a friend's resentment, even unjustified resentment, but try to put things right, to show your teachers ungrudging respect, and your children unfeigned love.
enough never to tire of it. Makes you hold all other things stored, reason you cheat for it. Hold all other things stored, reason you cheat for it. Life seems so empty and useless without it. And all that you scheme and you dream is about it. If gladly you'll sweat for it, fret for it, climb for it, lose all your terror, have got all the man for it. If you want to get better, just go out and fight for it. Work day, night for it, give up your time. If only inspire it, makes you quit bad enough, never to tire of it. Bad enough to go out and fight for it. Work day, night for it, give up your time. Peace and your sleep for it. If only inspire it, makes you quit bad enough, never to tire of it. Life seems so empty and useless without it. And all that you scheme and you dream is about it. If gladly you'll sweat for it, fret for it, climb for it, lose all your terror, have got all at man. If you'll simply go after that thing that you want, with all your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope and confidence, stump and tenacity. If neither call poverty, famished and joy, no sickness, no pain, a body and brain can turn you away from the thing that you want. If dogged and grim you besiege and beset, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset, if dogged and grim you besiege and beset, you'll get it. If you
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? Pain. Pain. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? Pain. Pain. What's in the box? What's in the box?
heard of animals chewing off a leg to escape a trap? That's an animal kind of trick. A human would remain in the trap, endure the pain, feigning death that he might kill the trapper and remove a threat to his kind. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? To determine if you're human, be silent. It burns. Silence. His world emptied of everything except the hand immersed in agony. He thought he could feel skin curling black on that agonized hand, the flesh crisping and dropping away until only charred bones remained. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? Pain. Pain. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? Pain. Pain. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? Pain. Pain. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? Pain. Pain. It stopped, as though a switch had been turned off. The pain stopped. Enough. Take your hand from the box, young human, and look at it. Do it. He jerked his hand from the box, stared at it astonished. Not a mark. No sign of agony on the flesh. He held up the hand, turned it, flexed the fingers. Pain, she sniffed. A human can override any nerve in the body. Ever sift sand through a screen? We Bene Gesserit sift people to find the humans. Paul felt that he had been infected with terrible purpose. He did not know yet what the terrible purpose was. Why do you test for humans? To set you free. To set you free. Free? Once, men turned their thinking over to machines in the hopes that this would set them free. That only permitted other men with machines to enslave them. Thou shalt not make a machine the likeness of a human mind.
The idea, the big one, is the stoned ape theory. Terence McKenna's theory was the reason why the human brain size doubled over a period of 2 million years, and he equates it to the time where the climate changed and rainforests receded into grasslands, and these monkeys climbed down from trees, started experimenting with new food sources. They would flip over cow patties to find like bugs and beetles and shit. When they saw mushrooms growing on the cow patties, certain groups of these monkeys started eating these mushrooms. Two things happened. One, it increased their visual acuity. It made them be able to see much better. And then the other thing that happened is it made them horny. So here you have these better hunters. They can see things better. They're probably they can throw things and they're more accurate. And then they're horny. So they're gonna and then of course, as they're eating plates of these fucking things, they're gonna have psychedelic experiences. And if you're a monkey, maybe you have psychedelic experiences every day. It's like a force-fed evolution thing. It's like a force-fed evolution thing. Psychedelic experiences every day. Psychedelic experiences every day. Psychedelic experiences every day. Monkeys and spirits. If we figure out eventually we are all one thing, these spores are all like, they can go into a vacuum in space. space. They can travel in extreme cold and extreme heat and absorb radiation and not get damaged. And they can travel from other planets. Like if a meteor hits, a chunk of this planet can get knocked off, gets sent flying into space, and it lands on another planet. And those spores get to give birth on this planet and just communicate with all the animals that are here. When you have a DMT trip, it feels like communication with intent, but with no words. I understand exactly what you're saying, but I understand it more as a wave. It's like a very clear and obvious wave of information. One of the times I had this DMT trip, the DMT things, they would say a bunch of the same things. Relax and don't give in to astonishment. But they're not using words. That's the next shit, man. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Monkeys in space. Monkeys in space. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Monkeys in space. Monkeys in space. Starting to look at this, they're starting to back off, starting to look up at the sky. They're starting to look to the left and look to the right and go, whoa, what the fuck is this? What is this thing we're doing here? Because this isn't just, we're living life. In the beginning, Bob was a baby. Bob went to high school, then college. He played a bit of football before settling down with his... No. That's some shit we made up to make ourselves feel more comfortable. I mean, those events are actually taking place. Bob is going to school, but that doesn't mean shit. Okay? That really means something is we're flying through the fucking universe. Flying through the fucking universe. We're in space. We are in a ship. It's an organic ship. We're not on the ground. We're flying. I'm afraid to be in space in a spaceship. You're on a spaceship right now. It's just fucking huge. It's a 24,000 mile across spaceship. Okay? It's a spaceship. That's what it is. Okay? It's a spaceship. We're not grounded. It's not like the universe is a solid mass and we're sitting on it. We're flying. We are right now hurling and we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour around a massive nuclear explosion. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Monkeys in space. Monkeys in space. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Psychedelic experiences every day, every day, every day. Monkeys in space. Monkeys in space.
We came from Caladan, a paradise world for our form of life. There existed no need on Caladan to build a physical paradise or a paradise of the mind. We could see the actuality all around us, and the price we paid was the price men have always paid for achieving a paradise in this life. We went soft. We lost our edge. There should be a science of discontent. There should be a science of discontent. There should be a science. People need hard times and oppression to develop psychic muscles. The sleeper must awaken. The sleeper must awaken. The sleeper must awaken. The sleeper must awaken. I'll miss the sea, but a person needs new experiences. They jar something deep inside us, allowing them to grow. Without change, something sleeps inside us and seldom awakens. The sleeper must awaken.
Something sleeps inside us and seldom awakens. The sleeper must awaken. There should be a science of discontent. There should be a science of discontent. There should be a science. People need hard times and oppression to develop psychic muscles. The sleeper must awaken. The sleeper must awaken. The sleeper must awaken. The sleeper must awaken.
Your ability to control your thoughts, treated with respect. It's sort of protects your mind from false perceptions. False to your nature and that of all rational beings. It's what makes purpleness possible. And affection for other people and submission to the divine. Affection for other people and submission to the divine. Your ability to control your thoughts, treated with respect. It sort of protects your mind from false perceptions. False to your nature and that of all rational beings. It's what makes fulfillment possible. Forget everything else. Keep hold of this alone. Remember each of us lives only now. This brief instant. The rest has been lived already. All is impossible to know. The time we live is small. So to the home in which we live in, smallest even the greatest renown. But we love to know short-lived stick figures who know not even themselves, let those that long ago. Your ability to control your thoughts, treated with respect. It sort of protects your mind from false perceptions. False to your nature and that of all rational beings. It's what makes fulfillment possible. shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Beyond this place of refuge looms what the horror of the shame, and yet the menace of the years shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
So that was the martial arts and the yoga. I'm going to take a quick shower, and then we're going to continue with some reading and then some meditation on that reading. And in the meantime, before and after, we will listen to, we will listen to an audiobook real quick. It's more like a short pamphlet. However, as I listened to it earlier, crazy. So I'm pulling up the channel, Socialism for All. And the format on the Switch is a little bit funny. When I'm looking for this most recent video, you would think that would pop up right away. Like, damn, just take me to the channel. There it is. Okay, I found it.
Hey, welcome to Socialism for All. This file is being recorded for the December 2025 edition of Socialism for All, and it's an audiobook of Theses on the Organizational Structure of the Communist Parties and the Methods and Content of Their Work by the Third Congress of the Comintern or Communist International. If you like this video, please click like and subscribe, and consider supporting on Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee at patreon.com/socialismforall or buymeacoffee.com/socialismforall. There are links to Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee in the video description. So this piece is coming up as a continuation of our discussion of communist work in imperialist militaries. That particular aspect of communist work is discussed in this piece. I also just think it's a really good overall document as a representation of the thinking of the early Comintern, 1921. Lenin was still alive at this point. And a lot of people I know from the comments have had questions about how communist parties are supposed to operate, and this document goes into particulars on a lot of operational details of what a communist party was supposed to be, according to the early Comintern. So the source of this piece is, it was published in To the Masses, Proceedings of the Third Congress of the Communist International, 1921, from Haymarket Books. The translation team was organized by John Riddell. HTML markup by David Walters and Andy Blunden for the Marxists Internet Archive in 2018. Thanks as usual to MIA for hosting this and thousands of other free Marxist texts at Marxists.org. Let's begin. Section 1. General Principles. 1. The organization of the party must correspond both to the purpose of its activity and to the conditions in which it is conducted. The Communist Party aims to be the vanguard of the proletariat, its leading contingent, in every phase of its revolutionary class struggle and during the subsequent period of transition to socialism, the first stage of communist society. 2. There is no immutable, absolutely correct structure for communist parties. The conditions of proletarian class struggle are variable and subject to a process of constant change. In line with these changes, the organization of the proletarian vanguard must also constantly seek appropriate forms. Similarly, the organization of each party must conform to the historically determined features of its country. However, there are limits to this differentiation. Despite all peculiarities, there is a similarity in the conditions of proletarian class struggle in different countries and in different phases of the proletarian revolution, and this has fundamental importance for the international communist movement. This provides a common foundation for the organization of communist parties in each country. The task is to further develop the Communist Party's organization in an expedient fashion on this foundation, and not to strive for the founding of new model parties to replace those that already exist, or to seek an absolutely correct organizational form or ideal statutes. 3. Most of the communist parties, as well as the Communist International, as a world party of the revolutionary proletariat, share as a condition of their struggle that they must still struggle against the ruling bourgeoisie. Victory over the bourgeoisie, and taking power out of its hands, remains the decisive goal, setting our course in the coming period. The organizational work of the communist parties in the capitalist countries is thus directed toward building an organization that can make possible and secure the victory of the proletarian revolution over the possessing classes. 4. To be effective, every joint action needs a leadership. This applies above all to the great struggle of world history. The Communist Party is the organization of communist leadership in the proletarian revolution. To lead effectively, the party itself needs a good leadership. Our basic organizational task is thus to form, organize, and train an active communist party with competent leading bodies as the competent leadership of the revolutionary proletarian movement. Comment. There are a lot of people today who are members of various communist parties, and they say things like, I really like the people in my local branch, but we don't like national, we think national is revisionist, opportunist, whatever, and we disregard them. That is not how a communist party can work. As the Comintern said, our basic organizational task is to form, organize, and train an active communist party with competent leading bodies. If we have not done that, we have not completed our basic organizational task. Continuing. 5. To lead the revolutionary class struggle, the Communist Party and its leading bodies must combine great striking power with great capacity to adjust to the changing conditions of struggle. Successful leadership also requires close ties with the proletarian masses. Without such ties, the leaders of the masses will not lead them, but at best only follow along after. The Communist Party seeks to achieve such organic ties through democratic centralism. Section 2. On democratic centralism. 6. Democratic centralism in a communist party should be a true synthesis and fusion of centralism and proletarian democracy. This fusion can be achieved only on the foundation of constant and common activity and struggle of the entire party. In a communist party, centralization should not be formal and mechanical. It should relate to communist activity, that is, to the formation of a strong, agile, and also flexible leadership. A formal or mechanical centralization would concentrate power in the hands of a party bureaucracy, lording it over the other members and the revolutionary proletarian masses outside the party. But only enemies of communism could assert that the Communist Party seeks to utilize its leadership function and its centralization of communist leadership to dominate the proletarian class struggle. That is a lie. Moreover, internal power struggles and efforts to dominate the party are equally incompatible with the fundamentals of democratic centralism adopted by the Communist International. In the organizations of the old, non-revolutionary workers' movement, a pervasive dualism developed, similar to that of the bourgeois state, between bureaucracy and people. Under the paralyzing influence of the bourgeois environment, functionaries became estranged from members. A vibrant collaboration was replaced by the mere forms of democracy, and the organizations became split between active functionaries and passive masses. Even the revolutionary workers' movement cannot avoid being influenced to some degree by the formalism and dualism of the bourgeois environment. The Communist Party needs to thoroughly overcome such contradictions through systematic, ongoing political and organizational work marked by repeated improvements and changes. 7. During the transformation of a mass socialist party into a communist party, care must be taken not to limit the process to gathering instruments of power into the hands of the central leadership, while otherwise leaving the previous setup unchanged. For centralization not to remain a dead letter but to be carried out in practice, it must be implemented in such a way that the members perceive it as an objectively required strengthening and broadening of their overall work and capacity to struggle. Otherwise, the masses will perceive it as a bureaucratization of the party, which can give rise to opposition to any centralization, any leadership, any strict discipline. The polar opposite of bureaucratism is anarchism. The mere forms of democracy cannot rid the organization either of the tendency toward bureaucratism or of that toward anarchism, which indeed find fertile soil in this type of democracy. It follows that efforts to centralize the organization, that is, to establish a strong leadership, cannot succeed if limited to the framework of formal democracy. Such a leadership requires above all developing and maintaining living ties and interrelationships both within the party, between its leading bodies and the rest of the membership, and also between the party and the masses of proletarians outside its ranks. Comment: remember that many proletarians are not going to be Communist Party members. Continuing, Section 3. On Communists' obligation to be active. 8. The Communist Party should be a working school of revolutionary Marxism. Through daily common work within the party, organizational ties will be established between its different wings and among the individual members. Even today, in the legal communist parties, most of the members still are not consistently active in the party's daily work. This is a major failing of these parties and a cause for uncertainty regarding their future development. 9. Any workers' party taking its first steps toward communist transformation runs the risk of resting content with the adoption of a communist program. Communist doctrine replaces previous doctrine in its propaganda, and communist-oriented functionaries replace those with other views, and that's all. Comment: remember that the purpose of the Comintern, or the Third Communist International, was to replace the broken, opportunist Second Socialist International. Consequently, the Comintern took it upon itself to help Bolshevize these parties. That was an essential thing because whether the parties joining the Comintern were a new communist party formed by revolutionaries who had split from a still existing party that was affiliated with the Second Socialist International or with the 2.5 International, or whether a controlling faction of that party decided to bring the entire old party over, the Comintern was very clear, for example, in their 21 conditions for admission into the Comintern, which we have on the channel, that since the Second International had become largely disgraced and there was a successful socialist revolutionary movement, the Comintern was to a certain extent becoming fashionable or trendy. And they put themselves on guard against people who were going to be calling themselves communist, but really not becoming communist in their actual character. In other words, they were going to be communist in name only. And they really were trying to weed that out as much as they possibly could. Continuing, adoption of a communist program, however, is only a statement of intent to become communist. If there is no communist activity and the passivity of most members in party work remains unchallenged, the party is not carrying out even the minimum of what it has promised the proletariat by adopting a communist program. Indeed, the first condition in implementing this program is to draw all members into ongoing daily collaboration. The art of communist organization is to make use of everything in the proletarian class struggle, to divide up party work effectively among all members, and through the members to draw broader masses of the proletariat into the revolutionary movement. This art also involves maintaining a leadership position in the movement as a whole, not by virtue of power, but by virtue of authority, energy, and great experience, diversity, and ability. 10. In its efforts to have a genuinely active membership, a communist party should ask of everyone in its ranks to commit their energy and time to the party, to the extent possible under given circumstances, and always to do their best in its service. Besides commitment to communist ideas, membership in the Communist Party normally involves formal registration, perhaps initially as a candidate and later as a full member, regular payment of fixed dues, a subscription to the party newspaper, and so on. The most important thing, however, is the participation of every member in daily party work. 11. In order to take part in daily work, each member should, as a rule, belong to a small working group, be it a committee, collective, fraction, or cell. This is the only way that party work can be properly allocated, led, and carried out. In addition, of course, members should take part in general meetings of the local organization. Under conditions of legality, it is not good to replace these periodic assemblies by delegated local bodies. Rather, all members should be obliged to attend these meetings regularly. But that is not adequate. Such meetings need to be properly prepared by the work of smaller groups or of assigned comrades. The same applies to preparations to make effective use of broad assemblies of workers, demonstrations, and workers' mass actions. Only small groups can carefully assess and intensively carry out the varied tasks flowing from such activity. Without such ongoing, detailed work by the entire membership, functioning through a great many small working groups, even the most energetic efforts to take part in the proletarian struggle will lead only to vain, feeble attempts to gain influence. They will not lead to the necessary unification of all the living, revolutionary proletarian forces in a unified communist party capable of action. 12. Communist nuclei should be formed for day-to-day work in different arenas of party activity: door-to-door agitation, internal education, newspaper circulation, literature sales, information services, communications, and so on. Communist cells are nuclei carrying out communist work in factories and workplaces, trade unions, proletarian cooperatives, military units, and so on, wherever there are at least a few Communist Party members or candidates. If there are many party members in the same workplace, union, etc., the cell expands into a fraction, whose work is led by a nucleus. If it is appropriate to form a more broadly based opposition formation in a union, or to take part in one that already exists, the communists need to strive to lead such formations through their own cells. Whether a communist cell should make its presence known to those around it, or declare itself publicly as communist, must be decided by conscientiously weighing the dangers and advantages present in the specific situation. 13. Introducing the obligation to party activity and organizing these small working groups is particularly difficult for communist mass parties. It cannot be done overnight. It demands tireless persistence, careful consideration, and much exertion. It is particularly important that this reorganization be carried out from the outset with care and balanced consideration. It would be a simple matter to allocate all members in each organization into small cells and groups according to some formal schema, and then simply call on these structures to take on the party's daily work. Starting that way would be worse than not starting at all. It would quickly lead party members to object to this essential reorganization or to reject it. The party leadership will do well to begin with intensive discussion with a number of competent organizers who are convinced and enthusiastic communists, with a detailed grasp of where the movement stands in different areas of struggle. On this basis, a detailed outline can be prepared for the first steps toward this renewal. Next, trained organizers or organizational committees must effectively prepare the plan of work on the local level, choosing the initial group leaders and taking the first steps. The next step is to assign concrete, specific tasks to the organizations, working groups, cells, and individual members.
Okay, so on that note, I'm going to read from the Revolutionary Communists of America newspaper. I think we're getting close to the end of this issue. So we're on page 12 of the November-December issue of the Revolutionary Communists of America newspaper. And this article is labeled "Trump's Deployment of Masked Thugs, a Brutal Distraction from His Failures." Since September, Trump has expanded deportation operations in cities like Portland and Chicago, sparking waves of spontaneous protests against the ICE thugs. Having failed to deliver on campaign promises like tackling inflation and ending forever wars, Trump has only one leg left to stand on: the culture war. His anti-immigrant demagoguery and shock and awe ICE raids are an attempt to distract from his inability to solve the fundamental problems of American workers. Political theater. The growing sentiment was summed up by a Portland bus driver who spoke to the Wall Street Journal while walking his dog near an anti-ICE protest. I think it is a desperate attempt to distract from the Epstein files, the bad economic data that's coming out, and the fact that the tariffs are failing. Trump's National Guard deployment in Portland is pure political theater. Demonstrations have mainly centered around a single ICE detention center. Sensing an opportunity, Trump created a media circus around the protests, blowing them way out of proportion. Even Portland's police chief was baffled. This is one city block. The events that are happening down there do not rise to the level of attention that they are receiving. Protesters responded with mockery, showing up wearing inflatable character costumes. Scenes of frogs, unicorns, and T-Rexes facing off ICE troops and the National Guard have made a laughingstock of the authoritarianism liberals love to drone on about. When in power, both parties are liberal with police violence and deportations. Obama was president during the birth of Black Lives Matter in 2014 and deported more immigrants than either of his successors. The Democratic Party raises the specter of fascism cynically, hoping to profit in the midterms. It's not an all-out military dictatorship. It's capitalist violence, plain and simple. And both ruling classes parties are responsible. ICE terror. ICE raids are calculated to intimidate immigrant workers. Capitalists rack up billions from the extremely precarious and clandestine conditions migrants face, only to scapegoat them for, quote, stealing American jobs. Liberals paint Trump voters as one reactionary anti-immigrant bloc. This is not the case. MAGA is a fragile cross-class coalition. While it certainly contains reactionary elements, workers' concerns about immigration are fundamentally about housing, jobs, and declining living standards. The ruling class claims there isn't enough to go around for citizens and immigrants, all to encourage workers to fight each other over crumbs. They are lying. There is more than enough wealth to go around for everyone, to provide everyone a home, a well-paid job, and a decent standard of living. The real problem is that the tiny coterie of capitalist parasites control the economy. The working class, if it is united, has the power to defeat them. And I'll continue in a second. It's still really warm in here from my workout, so I'm going to open a window and let that cold air in. All right, where were we? We're reading from this communist newspaper, Revolutionary Communists of America. The next article is called Rage Against ICE Brutality in Modern Folk Music. Americans are deeply disgusted by the scenes of ICE's brutality. And they've got this picture of this guy. You might have seen him on TikTok. He's pretty popular. I like his music. The mood of anger against these mass thugs is spreading like wildfire and is being reflected even in music. Small-time folk singer-writer Jesse Wells has been making splashes throughout the internet with his incisive, satirical songs, providing commentary on topics from the parasitic health insurance industry to the genocide in Gaza. He already has nearly 2 million followers on Instagram alone. Recently, he published a song named Join ICE, which mocks the masked thugs, implying that this federal kidnapping force attracts deeply insecure macho wannabes, longing for a sense of power to placiate their chronic inferiority complex. With nearly 500,000 views, he has clearly given the derision that these workers feel towards these federal kidnappers a musical expression. Here are the lyrics. Well, if you're looking for purpose in the current circus, if you're seeking respect and attention, if you're in need of a gig that'll help you feel big, come with me and put some folks in detention. And this is a satirical song against ICE. Just last week, that was kind of rough. I put a kid in cuffs and zip-tied a woman to a van. We can sneak around town, hunting folks wearing down. I hear they got a great benefit plan. Join ICE, boy, ain't it nice. Join ICE, take my advice. If you're lacking control and authority, come with me and hunt down minorities. Join ICE. While I failed the academy, the cops weren't having me. The army didn't sound that fun. So I found me a paramilitary operation that was keen to hand me a gun. See, I got picked on at school. I never felt that cool. There's a hole in my soul that just rages. All the women turned me down. They told me I was a clown. Well, you won't look at me now. I'm putting folks in cages. At ICE, they got great hours. Join ICE for respect and power. They got a sign-on bonus of 50 grand. They're in need of you needing to feel like a man. Join ICE. So that's the satirical anti-ICE song by Jesse Wells on TikTok and Instagram. The next article is ICE in Chicago, mass fight back brewing. Austin Davis, Chicago, Illinois. The Department of Homeland Security announced it will begin, quote, Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago on September 9th. The stated purpose was to target the, quote, criminal illegal aliens who flocked to Chicago and Illinois, end quote. Just 2 weeks later, on September 23rd, ICE shot and killed a single father who was on his way to work after dropping off his children at school. Since then, federal agents have shot a woman 5 times with 5 rounds. They shot a priest from Chicago's oldest church in the head with a pepper ball. They descended on a low-income apartment complex with a Black Hawk helicopter, drones, and flashbang grenades. They ransacked the apartments and dragged residents out to the curb to be handcuffed and detained for hours in the middle of the night. The victims included U.S. citizens, children, and the elderly. The callous brutality from these armed thugs has spurred a wave of anger, while liberal media is using this surge of masked federal kidnappers to fearmonger about, quote, authoritarianism. The response from many ordinary workers has been not fear, but pure rage. There is a widespread mood of resistance against ICE. As in LA, in June, spontaneous demonstrations against the agency have erupted throughout the city. Workers have organized in the neighborhood patrols to warn neighbors of ICE's presence. I have personally been handed whistles from passerbys on 3 occasions over the course of one single week. Each whistle comes with an instructional booklet stated, "Stay loud and form a crowd," with 6 pages of information on how to stop an ICE arrest. Just 10 days after ICE began operations, citizens had already successfully de-arrested 1 person from the detention center in Broadview, Illinois. Social media is now flooded with videos of locals pouring out of their homes, forming crowds, running towards ICE agents while blowing whistles to stop arrests all over Chicago. One viral video shows a local man single-handedly running off 4 ICE agents, hoping to get away with a routine detention. With an angry, commanding voice, the man tells the would-be kidnappers, "You take orders from a pedophile rapist. I went to school in this community. I grew up in this community, and we aren't letting you ICE pigs terrorize us." After a masked agent mumbles a threat back, the man responds, "Or what? You'll shoot me? I'll die for this." The fearless DHS agents, unidentifiable, decked out in bulletproof vests and wielding semi-automatics, shrank back into themselves and ran back to the safety of their SUV. In another video, a migrant screams desperately, "Ayúdame, ayuda," as a pair of ICE gangsters try to drag him into an unmarked van. Passerbyers notice and start yelling and honking their horns in protest. Soon a crowd forms around the scene, and people physically intervene to stop the arrest. Realizing they're far outnumbered, the masked thugs release the man and speed away. It's clear from these examples that people are more than ready to do what it takes to stop ICE terror. From Chicago to Los Angeles and beyond, bravery and combativeness is not lacking. But the fight back against one of the best funded military machines in the world needs to be highly organized and linked to the broader working class struggle. The labor leaders should do their job and give this anger a mass organized expression under the slogan, "An injury to one is an injury to all." What will it take to stop ICE terror? You don't often hear American leaders uttering the phrase general strike. In a recent USA Today article, Stacey Davis Gates, newly elected president of the Illinois Federation of Teachers, IFT, hinted that a general strike could kick the National Guard and ICE out of Chicago. Quote, "Our forebears, enslaved Africans whose general strike broke the back of the Confederacy, have faced down greater monsters than Trump. They fought oppression with strategy, organization, and collective power, and they won." End quote. How to mobilize a general strike. Trump's attacks are bringing thousands of Chicagoans into the streets. Now is the perfect time to sharpen the class lines with class struggle methods. Chicago leaders have already shown their willingness to fight. Members of the IFT-affiliated Chicago Teachers Union, CTU, have been organizing to distribute leaflets and patrol areas around schools for ICE presence. They've even held impromptu union meetings to discuss the way forward. The 130,000 strong IFT has a presence in hundreds of school districts across the state. If Davis Gates is serious about a general strike, she should prepare the union's membership to mobilize for a broader struggle. A few thousand of the most dedicated members could begin organizing action communities in every workplace and discuss how to escalate the struggle. They could coordinate strikes at schools and link up with neighborhood defense organizations. To expand the movement, they could reach out to other organized workers, starting with unions in sectors where immigrant labor is most common, like SEIU, Unite Here, and UFCW. They could ask both the Chicago Federation of Labor and the Illinois AFL-CIO to get on board and take the lead. Together, they could launch a mass unionization event for all workers, regardless of citizenship status. A mass anti-ICE campaign would find widespread support among the working class, especially if it is combined with the struggle for jobs, higher wages, a shorter work week, and organizing workers into the unions. Cheers to that, drinking blood from the skulls of my enemies. Just kidding, I'm vegan. With a leadership willing to fight, the millions that have been pouring into the streets could be transformed from a mere mass of bodies into a conscious, organized force. A general strike would not only stop ICE in its tracks, but could also challenge the austerity plans of both federal and local politicians. Such a movement would necessarily have to aim its fire, not only against Trump, but against the Democrats and the entire capitalist system. There's an insert here that says, "With a leadership willing to fight, the millions pouring into the streets could be transformed from a mere mass of bodies into a conscious, organized force." Backing discredited Democrats. Chicago's capitalist media often describes Davis Gates as a firebrand provocateur. She frequently speaks of collective action and is fond of quoting black radicals like Assata Shakur. Despite her fiery rhetoric, however, she is intimately tied to the Democratic Party. She has been president of the CTU since 2022. In October, she unanimously won the presidency of the larger IFT. Under her leadership, the CTU was the top donor to Brandon Johnson's 2023 Democratic mayoral campaign. Before his City Hall ascent, Johnson was a CTU member, but his election did absolutely nothing for the working class. A few months after taking office, he increased property taxes and slashed L train service by 22%. Despite this program of tax hikes and austerity against the working class, Chicago still has a $770 million budget shortfall. Meanwhile, Johnson's approval ratings have fluctuated between 26% and 6%. This experience shows labor can't use the Democrats for its own means. The working class needs its own fighting party. But Davis Gates is crediting the Democrats for their supposed resistance to Trump. In the same article in which she spoke of a general strike, she wrote, quote, "Our mayor is protecting the right to protest and prohibiting Trump's troops from utilizing city property for their operations. Our governor has called on residents to record what they see and has sued alongside our city to stop the invasion." End quote. But the Democrats' actions are entirely performative. They hope to use Trump's raid to shore up support for their party, whose popularity has hit an all-time low. Union leaders like Davis Gates should be exposing the Democrats' cynical maneuvers while explaining that it is only the organized working class, not the courts, who can defend the democratic rights. And I'm going to pause there because I am fucking hungry. I am hungry. And I made this food. I haven't really eaten since breakfast, and I've been training like all evening since I got off work. That's the stuff right there. I was so hungry. So, carrying on. Both Trump and the Democrats are enemies of the working class. Fucking cheers to that. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is a billionaire hotel and casino mogul whose fortune flows from the exploitation of workers, including immigrants who make a miser's wage while he rakes in big profits, diverting social discontent. In the absence of a working class party or union leaders willing to lead a class independent struggle against ICE, culture war ideologues use immigration as a wedge to divide the working class. Homelessness in Chicago recently topped its 76,000. Immigrants are a convenient scapegoat for reactionary demagogues. Don't blame the landlords for skyrocketing rents and homelessness, they say. Blame immigrants instead. But last year alone, there were 127,000 vacant homes in Chicago, more than 10% of the city's housing units. Capitalist landlords keep tens of thousands of units off the market, simply because renting them out isn't profitable. Largely black and Latino areas, like Cicero, South Lonsdale, and Austin, saw a sharp swing to Trump during the 2024 elections. Workers were sick of the status quo and hoped Trump could solve their economic problems. Instead, he is cutting health spending and food stamps, all while funding ICE to the tune of $170 billion, giving it a larger annual budget than the entire Italian military. But culture war distractions give diminishing returns. As the economy stagnates and marches ever closer to a slump, Trump's antics meet with increasing hostility. The ruling class can only pit workers against each other for so long. The objective pressures are towards increasing class anger and polarization. Union leaders like Davis Gates can help focus and direct this anger, but only if they break completely with the Democrats. Which way forward? There has never been a better time for a militant class struggle program. In Italy, one militant dock workers' union called for a workers' boycott of Israel in response to the Italian ruling class's complicity in the Gaza genocide. That triggered a mass movement which forced the CGIL, Italy's main trade union confederation, to call a general strike. A militant stand by the IFT could get a similar echo in this country. The idea of millions of American workers simultaneously withholding their labor to achieve political aims has long been considered a utopian pipe dream. But the words general strike are now seeping into the minds of American workers. The working class is itching for a fight. Even as the current labor leaders insist on playing second fiddle to the bourgeois parties, the communists are building the nucleus of a future mass workers' party. Eventually, a class struggle union leadership will arise, and together we will fill the political vacuum and give the working class the fighting leadership it needs and deserves. ICE threatens Teamsters in Portland, by Dylan Kearney in Portland, Oregon, Teamsters Union. 2 EMT Teamsters responded to a protester injured in an anti-ICE protest in Portland. Federal agents demanded to ride along with the ambulance, but the EMTs refused. Fuck yeah, medic. That's real shit. ICE then held up the ambulance for over 20 minutes. When the driver placed the ambulance in park, the vehicle lurched slightly, spooking the ICE thug, who shouted, "Don't you ever do that again. I will shoot you. I will arrest you." The response from the Teamsters bureaucracy was pathetic. We respect the work law enforcement officers do every day, and we expect that same respect. Teamsters are being threatened simply for doing their job. If ICE harms a single hair on the head of any Teamster, the union should mobilize its 1.3 million members in strike action. We could reach out to other major unions and demand the removal of ICE from our cities. This isn't the first time ICE has threatened or attacked my union brothers, and it certainly won't be the last. The union should be at the forefront of the fight against these thugs, not demanding mutual respect from them. Red Scare, attack on free speech by Democrats. Ben Brown, New York, New York. A Boston pro-Palestine protest in October led to a clash between the police and around 200 protesters, ending in 13 arrests. Videos from the night show police cruisers driving through a downtown intersection lined with cops and protesters. When a protester kicks a passing police car, a cop immediately throws them to the ground. Within moments, other police officers jump on top of the protester, and general commotion between cops and the protesters breaks out. Boston's Democratic mayor, Michelle Wu, characterized the incident as an attack on the police and said those arrested should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Anyone who says that phrase, you're on the wrong fucking side of history. This is the same Democratic Party politician Zoran Mandati has repeatedly said he would emulate, calling her the most effective Democrat in the nation. That's a quote. Red Scare era charges. Initially, the charges against the protesters included resisting arrest and disorderly conduct, but the district attorney, another Democrat, escalated the situation by announcing felony charges for all 13 of those arrested. Among other felonies, they are now charged with promotion of anarchy, also commonly referred to as inciting a riot. Okay, before I was a communist, I was an anarchist. And if someone had charged me with promoting anarchy, I'd have been like, guilty. I'm fucking guilty, yes. Yes. The DA's office said these new charges resulted from an investigation in which prosecutors looked at Instagram posts made by Students for Justice in Palestine and decided to charge participants in the protest with spreading, quote, violent imagery and rhetoric, end quote, dusting off a century-old repressive law in the process. The, quote, promotion of anarchy harkens back to the post-World War I Red Scare, when amidst general political upheaval, the state targeted anarchists and communists. This reveals the hypocrisy of capitalist democracy. When the political and social situation is calm, the ruling class can pretend to defend the right to free speech. But in periods of widespread anger, the actions of those in charge reveal what they really defend: strict restrictions on the liberty of any who oppose government policies. Free speech and the Democrats. The Democrats are thus challenging Trump for the lead in arbitrary repressive prosecutions. This is an attack on free speech and freedom of assembly by the Democrats, the party that runs the show in Boston, from the district attorney's office to the governor's mansion. All these Democratic politicians have defended the felony charges as a necessary measure to maintain order. Democrats try to convince us that they are the force preserving democracy in the face of Trump's excessive flexibility with the rule of law. But their actions here reveal that the law is always a weapon for arbitrary use in the hands of the ruling class. I personally experienced that as a political prisoner. They decide in any given circumstance what constitutes an unlawful assembly or a threat to public safety. In Boston, the Democrats have decided to throw the entire book at a dozen people standing up against 2 years of genocide. They hope to discourage others from protesting in the future, but this is only wishful thinking on their part. So I'll end my daily reading for there for now, and we will move on to a meditation. And we're going to meditate on these ideas that we just read about. And the way that we're going to meditate on them is by listening to an audiobook. Because I don't believe in meditating on some imaginary mystical bullshit, wasting our time just sitting quietly, practicing submissive subservience, and just being relaxed. Fuck that. Let's meditate on something that will actually improve the world and the future. Something revolutionary. So here it is, 4:26 in the morning. We're going to meditate until almost 5 a.m. Right? I'm going to go to bed at 6 a.m. so I can be at work up at 2 for work at 3 here on the East Coast. So we're going to listen to this audiobook we were listening to earlier, or this essay really.
Tasks that are clearly useful, desirable.
Oh shit, bro, what did I do? Where did it go? Okay, let's try it again. Gotta find this thing. It took a minute to find it earlier. Fucking tisk. We had it all queued up and ready to go. There it is.
Desirable and practical. Where necessary, practical demonstrations can show how these tasks are to be carried out. It should be explained what errors are to be particularly avoided. 14. This organization should be carried out one step at a time. At first, not all that many new cells or working groups should be founded in a local organization. It is first necessary to show, through a brief experience, that the cells founded in certain important factories and unions are functioning properly. It is also necessary that working groups founded in the other main areas of party activity, such as information gathering, communications, door-to-door work, the women's movement, distributing literature and the paper, work among the unemployed, are reasonably well consolidated. It would be wrong to tear down the old organizational framework before the new one has been broken in to some extent. However, this fundamental task of communist organizational work must be carried out energetically everywhere. This places great demands not only on legal but also on illegal parties. An extensive and active network of communist cells, fractions, and working groups is needed in all crucial arenas of the proletarian class struggle. The party must be strong and purposeful, with every member taking part in the daily revolutionary work. The participation must become a self-evident routine. Until all this is reality, the party cannot take any respite from its efforts to carry out this task. Let's read that paragraph again. This fundamental task of communist organizational work must be carried out energetically everywhere. This places great demands not only on legal but also on illegal parties. An extensive and active network of communist cells, fractions, and working groups is needed in all crucial arenas of the proletarian class struggle. The party must be strong and purposeful, with every member taking part in the daily revolutionary work. The participation must become a self-evident routine. Until all this is reality, the party cannot take any respite from its efforts to carry out this task. Continuing. 15. This fundamental organizational task obligates the leading party committees to exert constant, inexhaustible, and direct leadership of the party's work. It requires varied efforts by every comrade active in the party leadership. The leadership of communist activity must not merely ensure that all comrades are busy. It must assist them and lead their work systematically and expertly. Precise orientation is needed on the specific conditions of work. An effort is needed to identify errors in one's own activity, apply the lessons of experience to improving methods of work, and to never lose sight of the struggle's goal. 16. The entirety of our party work consists of struggle, whether theoretical or practical, or of preparation for this struggle. Comment. In other words, it's all about that struggle. Continuing. In the past, specialization of this work has mostly been very inadequate. There are important arenas of work in which the party has carried out work only accidentally at best, such as efforts by legal parties to struggle against the political police. Instruction of party members is usually haphazard, incidental, and so superficial that the majority of the party's most important principled decisions, including its program and resolutions of the Communist International, remain unknown to broad layers of the membership. Ongoing and systematic instruction is needed throughout the organization in all its working groups in order to achieve a continually rising level of specialization. Comment. If you are in a party that calls itself communist, ask yourself, do they rise to this level? Do they meet these standards? Continuing. 17. The duty to be active in the communist organization also necessarily includes submission of reports. This applies to all party branches and committees as well as to every individual member. General reports must be regular and frequent, while special reports are needed when specific party tasks are carried out. It is important to carry out submission of reports so systematically that it becomes a firmly established tradition of the communist movement. 18. 4 times a year, a party makes its regular report to the leadership of the Communist International. Each unit within the party reports to the leading body immediately above it, such as monthly reports by the local organization to the relevant party committee. Every cell, fraction, or working group should report to the party committee that actually leads its work. Individual members should report, perhaps weekly, to the cell or working group to which they belong. Where special tasks have been carried out, the report should go to the party unit that made the assignment. Reports should always be made at the first opportunity. They should be given orally unless the party or the appropriate committee has asked for a written report. Reports should be brief and factual. The recipient of the report must ensure that reports whose publication would cause harm are kept secure, and that important reports are passed on without delay to the relevant party committee. 19. These reports should not be limited, of course, to what the reporter has done. They should also include information relevant to our struggle on what has been observed during activity, especially observations that could occasion a change or improvement in our future activity. When our activity reveals the need for improvement, this should be passed on. All communist cells, fractions, and working groups should, as a rule, discuss the reports they have received as well as those they have to deliver. These discussions must become routine. All cells and working groups must ensure that individual members or groups of members regularly receive a special assignment to observe and report on enemy organizations, especially on petty bourgeois workers' organizations and non-revolutionary quote-unquote socialist parties. Section 4. On Propaganda and Agitation. 20. In the period before an open revolutionary uprising, Our universal task is revolutionary propaganda and agitation. This activity is often largely carried out in the old formal way, by intervening occasionally in mass meetings from the outside, without much care as to the actual revolutionary content of what is written or said. Communist propaganda and agitation must take root in the very heart of the proletarian milieu. It must arise from the workers' lives, common interests and strivings, and especially from their common struggles. Revolutionary content is the most important aspect of communist propaganda. The slogans and positions advanced on specific questions in different situations must be evaluated from this point of view. Not only full-time propagandists and agitators, but all party members must receive ongoing and extensive instructions to enable them to take correct positions. 21. The main forms of communist propaganda and agitation are personal discussions, participation in struggles by the trade union and political workers' movement, and the impact of the party's press and literature. Every member of both legal and illegal parties should take part regularly in this activity in one way or another. Oral, person-to-person propaganda must be carried out, above all, through systematically organized door-to-door agitation by working groups established for that purpose. No dwelling in the reach of local party units should be omitted. In larger centers, good results can be had from specially organized street agitation, utilizing posters and leaflets. In addition, cells or fractions must organize regular, person-to-person agitation at workplaces, linked to distribution of written materials. In countries whose population includes national minorities, special attention is needed to agitation and propaganda in the proletarian layers of these minorities. This work is to be carried out, of course, in the language of the national minority in question. Special party publications must be created for this purpose. 22. In capitalist countries where a large majority of the proletariat still has no conscious inclination to revolution, ways must be sought to improve communist propaganda. It must be adapted to the understanding of non-revolutionary workers to link up with their incipient revolutionary understanding and open their road to the revolutionary movement. The slogans of communist propaganda must foster the impulses of such workers toward revolution, even though still germinating, unconscious, incomplete, wavering, and semi-bourgeois, as they undergo an inner struggle against bourgeois traditions and appeals. Communist propaganda must not rest content with the present limited and unclear demands or hopes of the proletarian masses. The revolutionary seeds of these demands and hopes are no more than the necessary starting point for us to gain influence. Only from such starting points can proletarians be brought closer in understanding to communism. 23. Communist agitation among the proletarian masses must be such that proletarians in struggle recognize our communist organization as a courageous, perceptive, vigorous, and consistently loyal leader of their common movement. Comment: do you perceive your communist party that way? Do others, especially outside the party, perceive it that way? Continuing. To achieve this recognition, communists must take part in all elemental working class struggles and movements and lead the workers in every battle with the capitalists over hours and wages, working conditions, and the like. Communists must closely study specific issues of workers' lives. They must help workers to disentangle these questions, direct their attention to the most important abuses, help them formulate precise and practical demands on the capitalists, strive to develop their consciousness of solidarity, and arouse their awareness of the common interests and goals of workers of all countries as a unified working class in the world proletarian army. Only such daily work, detailed but indispensable, and such continual devoted participation in all the proletariat struggles can enable a party that calls itself communist to become a communist party. This is the only way it can depart from the outdated model of socialist parties, dedicated entirely to propaganda and recruitment, whose activity consists of gathering members, making speeches about reforms, and utilizing the opportunities that arise, or more likely do not arise, in Parliament. The broad masses of party members need to take part, with devotion and a sense of purpose, in the school of daily struggles and conflicts between the exploited and the exploiters. That is the indispensable precondition for winning the dictatorship of the proletariat, and even more, for exercising it. Only leading the working masses in an ongoing guerrilla war against the attacks of capital enables the communist parties to become a working class vanguard that can really learn to lead the proletariat and gain the capacity to consciously prepare for elimination of the bourgeoisie. 24. When strikes, lockouts, or mass layoffs take place, communists must mobilize in large numbers to take part in the workers' movement. Communists make an enormous mistake by pointing to the communist program or the armed struggle as excuses for passivity, scorn, or even hostility to workers' current struggles for small improvements in their working conditions. Listen closely, no matter how small and modest the demands may be that the workers now pose for struggle against the capitalists, this is never cause for the communists to stand aloof from the struggle. Of course, our agitation should not give the impression that we communists blindly instigate unwise strikes or other rash actions. However, among the workers in struggle, the communists should always earn the reputation of being the most competent comrades in arms. Comment. In other words, in the short term, we do work for improvements in working and living conditions. In the long term, we struggle for revolution. Because that's really the only way we're going to get the bigger changes to the system and to keep them. Continuing. 25. In trade union activity, the communist cells and fractions have often been at a loss in face of the simplest daily issues. It is easy to preach only the general principles of communism and then, faced with a specific challenge, to fall back into the negative approach of vulgar trade unionism. But this is harmful, merely playing into the hands of the yellow leaders of Amsterdam. Comment that yellow leaders of Amsterdam is a reference to the yellow unions, the pro-capitalist unions, which were allied with the social democratic political movement. Continuing, communists, by contrast, should determine their revolutionary position based on the factual content of each question that arises. For example, rather than resting content with principled opposition to all wage contracts, communists should contest the actual factual content of the contracts proposed by the Amsterdam leaders. Every move to rein in the proletariat's readiness to struggle should be condemned. As is well known, the capitalists and their Amsterdam accomplices try to use every wage agreement to tie the hands of the workers in struggle. Communists must certainly explain this to workers, but as a rule, communists can best do this by proposing a wage scale that does not shackle the workers. The same approach applies, for example, to the workers' mutual aid societies and trade union benefit plans. Comment, this is something which doesn't always exist anymore. It was kind of a predecessor to group insurance. In a lot of countries, that became nationalized. In the United States, it's still through a workplace for many things. Continuing. It is certainly beneficial to provide strike support and pay for the costs of the struggle from common funds. It would be quite wrong to oppose such arrangements in principle. However, the type of collections favored by the Amsterdam leaders and the way they use the funds contradicts the workers' revolutionary class interests. As for trade union health insurance and similar arrangements, communists may, for example, propose an end to the requirement to pay special premiums and the removal of restrictive provisions relating to voluntary insurance schemes. But if some of the members still want to secure their health insurance by paying premiums, they will not understand it if we simply want to forbid that out of hand. It is first necessary to carry out intensive personal propaganda to free these members from their petty bourgeois aspirations. 26. In the struggle against social democratic and other petty bourgeois trade union leaders and the various workers' parties, we cannot hope to achieve anything through persuasion. The struggle against them must be organized with full vigor. However, this can be done successfully only by separating them from their supporters, convincing workers that the social trader leaders are simply doing the menial work for capitalism. Where possible, these leaders should be put in a situation where they're compelled to expose themselves, and when that's achieved, vigorously attacked. It is certainly not enough to curse the Amsterdam leaders as yellow. Practical examples are needed to demonstrate this. We can point to their activity in labor-employer collaborative bodies, in the League of Nations International Labor Office, in bourgeois ministries and administration. We can cite their traitorous statements and speeches at conferences and in parliaments, and the decisive passages of their many appeasing articles in hundreds of newspapers. We can point in particular to their wavering and hesitant conduct in preparing and carrying out even the smallest wage movements and workplace conflicts. In all these ways, we have the opportunity every day to present simple motions, resolutions, and clear speeches exposing and characterizing the unreliable and traitorous activity of the Amsterdam leaders as yellow. The cells and fractions have to strike these blows systematically. The lower-level trade union bureaucracy should not be exempt. Although their intentions are often good, they hide their weakness behind union bylaws and decisions and instructions of the top union leadership. Communists should not hesitate to act resolutely, always demanding that the lower-level bureaucrats explain clearly what they are doing to remove these supposed obstacles, and whether they are prepared to join with the membership in struggle for this goal. 27. Communist participation in trade union meetings and conferences needs to be carefully prepared by the fractions and working groups. Motions should be drafted, reporters and speakers chosen, and competent, experienced, and energetic comrades proposed as candidates. Communist organizations must prepare just as carefully when parties opposed to them call workers' meetings, election rallies, demonstrations, political festivals, and the like. When the communists themselves call general meetings of workers, as many communist working groups as possible must collaborate according to a unified plan, both before and at the rallies, in order to draw full advantage for the organization. 28. Communists must improve their ability to attract workers who are unorganized and lack consciousness into the party's permanent sphere of influence. Our cells and fractions should convince these workers to join the trade unions and read our party newspaper. Our influence can also be conveyed through other workers' associations, consumer cooperatives, groups of wounded veterans, study circles, sports associations, theatrical groups, etc. If the Communist Party must work legally, such workers' associations can be formed outside the party by its members, with the approval and under the supervision of the party's leading bodies, sympathizer organizations. Communist youth and women's organizations can also awaken the interest of many proletarians uninterested in politics in the activity of collective organizations, through their classes, reading groups, special trips, festivals, Sunday excursions, and so on. In this way, they can be won to permanent participation in the organization and involved in useful party work, distributing leaflets, newspapers, pamphlets, etc. Active participation in the common movement is the best way to free them from petty bourgeois inclinations. 29. In order to win semi-proletarian layers of the working people to the side of the revolutionary proletariat, communists must utilize the conflicts of interest that set these layers against large landowners, capitalists, and the capitalist state. Through constant discussion, these intermediate layers must be freed from their suspicion of proletarian revolution. This often demands lengthy contact. Their trust in the communist movement will be increased by showing sympathetic interest in their day-to-day needs, providing free information in coping with small challenges they cannot deal with on their own, inviting them to special free educational events, and so on. In this process, communists must cautiously but persistently counter hostile organizations and individuals who have local authority, and influence working peasants, household servants, and other semi-proletarians. Enemies close at hand, whom the exploited know from their experience as oppressors, must be exposed as personifications of the criminal capitalist system as a whole. Every day-to-day event in which the governmental bureaucracy infringes on the ideals of petty bourgeois democracy and the rule of law must be forcibly explained in simple language in communist propaganda and agitation. Every local unit in rural areas must carefully divide up among its members the work of door-to-door agitation and extend this work to all villages, estates, and individual houses in the area. 30. To conduct propaganda in the capitalist army and navy, communists must look into the most appropriate methods for each individual country. Pacifist agitation against militarism is very harmful, since it furthers the bourgeoisie's efforts to disarm workers. The proletariat rejects in principle and combats all the military institutions of the bourgeois state and the bourgeois class. Nonetheless, these institutions, army, rifle clubs, neighborhood patrols, etc., can be useful to prepare workers for revolutionary struggle. The target of anti-militarist agitation, therefore, is not military training of the youth and workers, but the militarist system and the despotism of the officers. Every chance for proletarians to hold weapons in hand should be energetically utilized. Rank-and-file soldiers in the army must be made aware of the class antagonisms expressed in the shabby treatment they receive and officers' material privileges. In addition, it must be explained to soldiers how their whole future is linked to that of the exploited classes. In periods of increasing revolutionary ferment, agitation for the election by soldiers and sailors of all those in command, and for the formation of soldiers' councils can be very effective in undermining the pillars of capitalist class rule. Attentive and vigorous agitation is needed against the bourgeoisie's special class war contingents, especially their volunteer armed bands. Where their social composition and corrupt practices make this possible, systematic efforts are needed at the appropriate time to introduce social discord into their ranks. In cases where they are homogeneous in class character, such as contingents formed entirely of officers, they must be exposed to the contempt and hatred of the entire population, so that they will be undermined internally by social isolation. Section 5. Organizing Political Struggles. 31. For a communist party, there is never a situation in which political activity is impossible. The party's strategy and tactics must be built on utilization of every political and economic conjuncture in all their variations. Even if the party is still weak, it can still take advantage of major political events or strikes that shake the entire economy in order to carry out well-prepared radical propaganda initiatives. When the party decides on such an initiative, it must commit all the energy of its branches and sectors to this campaign. All the connections that the party has acquired through the work of its cells and working groups should be used to hold meetings in the main centers where political organizing or a strike movement is underway. At such meetings, party speakers should advance communist slogans showing how participants can surmount the difficulties of their struggle. Special working groups should meticulously prepare these meetings. If it is not possible to hold our own meetings, suitable comrades should take the lead as speakers in general assemblies of strikers or other proletarians in struggle. When there is a chance of winning support for our slogans for most or many participants in a meeting or rally, we must try to express these slogans through well-written and well-motivated motions and resolutions. If they're adopted, efforts should be made to pass the same or similar resolutions in every meeting on this issue in that city or region, or at least to win substantial minority support for them. In this way, we will draw together layers of the proletariat in the movement on whom we previously only had limited influence and enable them to recognize the new leadership. After each meeting of this sort, the working groups involved in preparing and conducting it should meet briefly, not only to prepare a report for the leading party committee, but also to draw out the lessons of this experience for future work. The slogans can also be conveyed to interested layers of workers as befits the situation, through posters or short handbills. More extensive leaflets can show how these workers are linked to the struggle and present communist slogans in accessible fashion. A skilled poster campaign requires specially organized groups to identify the best spots and the best times for pasting up the posters, distributing handbills inside or in front of the factory or in places where traveling workers congregate. Traffic junctions, employment offices, railway stations should be accompanied where possible by personal discussions that pass on slogans orally to working masses who are in motion. Detailed leaflets should properly be distributed indoors in the factories, meeting rooms, or homes, or wherever else they can receive an attentive response. This intensive propaganda must be accompanied by parallel activity in all trade union and factory meetings affected by the movement. Our comrades may build or organize such meetings themselves and then assign members to give presentations or contribute to discussions. Our party's newspapers must give a great deal of space and assign their best writers to respond to such a special movement. Indeed, the entire party apparatus must be freed up for as long as needed to support unrelentingly the main ideas of this movement. 32. Demonstrations need a flexible and dedicated leadership that keeps the purpose of the action in view. This leadership must constantly be able to judge whether the demonstration has reached its limit of effectiveness or whether, in the given situation, the campaign can be brought to the level of a mass action by demonstrative strikes or even mass strikes. The peace demonstrations during the war taught us that even when such an action has been repulsed, if the goal is urgent and overriding, and is inherently of continued broad interest to the masses, a genuine proletarian combat party, even if underground and quite small, cannot turn aside or hold back. Street demonstrations should rely on the largest factories for their main support. Our cells and fractions should carry out systematic preparatory work through discussions and handbills to establish some degree of agreement regarding the situation. Our leading committee should convene our factory shop stewards and cell and fraction leaders to a briefing to decide on measures to rally forces effectively on the appointed day and have them meet punctually. This meeting should determine the nature of the slogans, the prospects for intensifying the action, and the time to break off and disperse the demonstration. A well-trained and experienced staff of energetic functionaries is needed to form the backbone of the demonstration from its outset, when contingents leave the factories, to its dissolution. To enable these functionaries to maintain effective contact with each other and to be supplied throughout with the requisite political instructions, responsible party workers must be integrated into the mass of demonstrators. Such a mobile political and organizational leadership maximizes the chances of renewing the action and possibly broadening its scope. 33. Communist parties that are already somewhat consolidated and have an experienced team of functionaries and significant mass support should do everything possible through major campaigns to overcome fully the influence of the social traitors on the working class and bring its majority under communist leadership. The way campaigns are organized depends on circumstances, such as whether the current struggles enable communists to take the lead of proletarian forces or whether the movement is temporarily stagnant. The party's composition also influences organizational methods in an action. That is why the VKPD, German party, as a new mass party, resorted to the so-called open letter in order to win the socially decisive layers of the proletariat more effectively than had been possible in the individual districts. In order to expose the social traitors, the Communist Party approached the other mass organizations of the proletariat at a time of increasing impoverishment and class antagonisms. The party demanded that they tell the proletariat publicly whether they were willing to commit their supposedly powerful organizations to a struggle together with the Communist Party for very modest demands to counter the evident impoverishment of the proletariat. When a Communist Party begins a campaign of this type, it needs to prepare organizationally so that its initiative can receive a response among the broadest layers of workers. All the party's factory fractions and trade union functionaries must, after thorough preparation, effectively present the party's demands as an overall response to the proletariat's most urgent needs in their next factory or trade union meeting and in all public meetings. Leaflets, handbills, and posters must be effectively distributed wherever our cells or fractions aim to generate and develop support for our demands among the masses. While the campaign is underway, our party press must publish daily articles, sometimes short, sometimes detailed, examining the issues from varied points of view. Party units need to send in a steady stream of materials and be vigilant that the editors do not flag in covering the campaign journalistically. In addition, party fractions in parliament and municipal councils should be placed at the service of such struggles. They must implement party instructions by speaking about the movement and advancing appropriate parliamentary resolutions. The deputies should act consciously as a wing of the masses in struggle, as their spokespersons in the enemy camp, and as responsible functionaries and party workers. Let us say that the unified activity of every wing of the party leads within a few weeks to a large and growing number of resolutions of support. The party then faces a significant challenge: how to give organizational form to the masses' support for its demands. If the movement is based primarily in the trade unions, the main effort should be to increase our influence in the unions. Our fraction should take well-prepared initiatives against the local trade union leaderships, in order either to push them aside or to convince them to carry out an organized struggle for our party's demands. If there are factory councils, committees, or similar bodies, our fraction should carry out an orderly intervention to induce a full meeting of these bodies to join in supporting the struggle. If such a campaign for the proletariat's basic interests has led to formation of local groups under communist leadership, these must be brought together in conferences, which should also include special delegates from factory meetings that have come out in support of the movement. The new leadership, consolidated in this fashion under communist influence, can gain strength through such a unification of active groups of organized workers. This strength can then be utilized to drive forward the leadership of socialist parties and trade unions, or to unmask them organizationally. In branches of the economy where our party is strongest and has won the greatest support for its demands, this exerts pressure on the local trade unions and factory councils. This situation should then be utilized to draw together all the individual economic struggles and budding independent movements into a unified campaign that will now go beyond the concerns of a specific union by raising some basic common demands. All district organizations can then join forces in pushing them through. In such a movement, the Communist Party will prove itself as the genuine leader of the proletariat in struggle. If the trade union bureaucracy and socialist parties oppose such a unified campaign, they will be thrust aside, not only on the plane of political ideas, but organizationally as well.
So we will stop there. I've had a long, full day. It's a good day. I did the 30-minute run, the martial arts calisthenics workout, yoga, and some reading and meditation. So I'm ending the live stream now. Please like, share, and subscribe, and practice along with me so that you can be strong in body and mind.